From the heart of Big Ten country, Los Angeles, California, Ryan Abraham and David Woods present the Podcast of Champions.
Welcome everyone back to the Podcast of Champions. I'm David Woods from Bruin Report Online, the UCLA site on the 24/7 Sports Network.
And I'm Ryan Abraham from USCFootball.com, the USC site on the 24/7 Sports Network. And together, we make the podcast. Freaking champions, baby. Talking all things Big Ten football. It's week 5. Week 5.
Week 5, baby.
All Big Ten
It's actually
games.
week 6. We're recapping.
We're recapping week 5.
Yep.
And we're ready to go.
We're ready.
What was that? Was that like an Irish Schmeagle? Like what was that?
I don't know what I was going for. I think I was getting into the Halloween season a little bit.
I like it.
You know, some sort of like, I was going for like, I am the familiar for a vampire.
Okay.
Right. I'm like the human person who like helps out the vampire.
Yeah.
And like gets humans and, you know, fills up the blood bag, so to speak.
All right. We got some ducks in the chat.
Speaking of blood bags, we got to talk about UCLA today.
Quack. We got Dave, more Oregon fans and UCLA fans at the Rose Bowl this Saturday.
Yep.
Maybe all those things are true. We're going to get to all that stuff. We don't get ahead of ourselves. We got a lot to get to. Big show, and we're going to try to get through it and do everything out there.
In record time.
Record time, which is usually impossible. If you want to email us, big10cast@gmail.com. You can call or text us, 424-532-0678. You can tweet us at Big Podcast, B1G Podcast. And then if you have the Apple Podcasting app, we would love a follow and a 5-star review. And if you give us a 5-star review and we love it, we will send you a $17 Trader Joe's gift card in honor of the 17 points that UCLA scored at LSU. I think we got some new reviews. I got emails from both winners from last show, so we'll pick one more today. And send me an email, ryan@uscfootball.com if we picked you, and I will get a Trader Joe's gift card in the mail, the snail mail to you, because it's a physical gift card.
Got it. All right, I think we have 5 more. It's either 4 or 5.
Holy
I can't
cow.
remember if we read one of these already. But anyway, we're going to start here.
Okay.
This is from Senor Pablo 320, Behind the Curtain. The POC claims to be an homage to mediocrity. And no doubt, Dave and Ryan are spectacularly average when it comes to football. However, this is all a smokescreen for their true genius, getting other people to work for them. While Dave enjoys the cool breeze of the beautiful South Bay and Ryan pursues his dream of being a professional vacationer, they get their minions to create their sound effects and write their promotional bits in the form of 5-star reviews. Now I can count myself among the minions with all the apathy that it's due. Thanks, guys. I feel like I'm truly rubbing elbows with giants of non-achievement. Keep it mediocre, allegedly.
I like that one.
That was good. That's a solid contender.
Yeah.
This is from Walnut412. It's 3 vomit emojis as the subject line, so this one's already a contender. 5-star review. I just discovered the POC podcast, and I'm exactly as likely to ever listen again as Nebraska is to win a 1-score game. I've been an Indiana fan, as am I, lifelong, since Lee Corso coached the Hoosiers in the 70s, and as such, I feel confident proclaiming POC the, quote, Lee Corso of podcasts. Sometimes charming, but mostly irrelevant, incoherent, and waiting to die. Wow, brutal.
Just for you.
Indiana Hoosiers.
Hey, folks. I'm from Indiana.
Contender, definitely.
Yeah, I know.
This is from AP_2! Ode to the Ordinary Podcast. Do my ears deceive me? Is that the glorious sound of bells and angelic choirs? Hallelujah! The Podcast of Champions has graced us with another episode. Or wait, what's that ominous noise? Never mind. I was mistaken. Similar to the wailing sirens and clacking chains signaling the official demise of Jackie Robinson Stadium, yes, it's true. The decidedly average Podcast of Champions has delivered yet another painfully amateurish show. I can wait to hear their takes on their rankings of which of the Big Ten mascots they would want as a partner in the zombie apocalypse. Many thanks to Ryan and David for helping me cling to my sanity during this particularly dismal football season as a Bruin fan.
I kind of like that.
That was pretty
So
good.
zombie apocalypse partners for like The Big Ten mascots, to be honest, when you're thinking about them, they're not as cool as the Pac-12.
No,
ones
and
were.
some of them, they don't have mascots. Like,
Yeah.
They don't have real ones.
I mean, we had like the Stanford one, which is like, with the tree. But there's a lot of just like,
No, like beyond the name, like the nickname, they don't even have a mascot.
Yeah.
Like, it's not, they don't have somebody dressing up in a stupid suit, too.
yeah. So you can't picture yourself walking through the ruins of downtown Los Angeles
With an Illini or a Hoosier.
a Buckeye. You're
Yes.
like, I throw Buckeyes at you, zombies.
Yeah, not as fun. This is from 777-5426. Great show. Love the fun you have while bringing actual analysis. Way too positive.
Yeah, that was good.
We love it. Chicago Horned Frog. Did I read this one last week? This is the big question.
I don't remember.
Richard Breho for Heisman. I don't think I did.
I don't think so.
5-star review. This podcast has opened my eyes to facts of life in ways that have never been done before. What this podcast has opened my eyes to is that in this crazy world of ours, sub-mediocrity is the norm. Fake it till you make it, I guess. I say this because these two bumbling Neanderthals have a podcast that is inadequate, yet I still listen to it anyway. Yeah. It is clear that neither of these men have ever played a single down of football in their dumb existences. There is not a sliver of football knowledge imparted in the history of the show's existence, and the mere fact that these buffoons have managed to keep themselves alive is nothing short of a miracle. I despise the University of Spoiled Children and hope for nothing but the worst for them, and I wouldn't even waste my energy caring about UCLA because if Chip Kelly didn't even care about this program during his time there, why should I? Go Hoosiers and go TCU Frogs, and please talk about Max Duggan for 30 seconds on Monday's show, please and thank you.
Is that the winner?
That's probably the winner.
I think it's the winner.
Yeah, Richard Breho for Heisman. Please collect your gift card.
Yeah.
Chicago Horned Frog.
Yeah. Do we have to talk about Max Duggan? I don't know.
No. The reward is the Trader Joe's.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about Max Duggan.
Yeah.
Fast guy, though.
He can run a little bit. Thanks for all the reviews. And if you want to send them in, we do appreciate those. Want to let everyone know if you are in the survivor pool, people keep asking me what's the link. I'm tired of saying it. Like, it's the same link. So just click on it. If you entered it last week, do it the same thing. But we have 18 people left. 3 people didn't pick. So you can win by just showing up. The winners, people picked Nebraska, Michigan, Oregon, Penn State, Ohio State, and USC. And for the losers, a lot of people picked Michigan State, of course, playing Ohio State. 4 picked Illinois, 3 picked Purdue, and 2 picked Wisconsin. So thanks for sending those in. Just the 3 people failed to submit. So we have that. And also, we are doing our picks each and every week. And I'll give you a quick recap before we get into everything. I went 7-1 against the spread, which is freaking dominating.
Well, and we usually pick so aligned, so I don't think we need to get into what I did this week. I think instead we just assume I did something similar.
To try to catch up, because I had a pretty big lead, David picked against me a few times.
I wasn't trying to catch up.
Oh, okay.
No, I was trying to pick correctly.
Yes.
And I did spiritually.
You were 50-50, so it's not bad. 4-4. David overall is 29-28. I am 35-22 against the spread. First year cover the Big Ten. I will take it, and you know why? Because I'm over at MyBookie, and I'm absolutely crushing it. If you have MyBookie, it's great. Check it out. You've probably heard it from us before. If not, you can use the promo code POC, and they will give you a 100% matching of your initial deposit. So say you want to put down $100, it turns into $200. Say you bet all of my picks and went 7-1, that $200 would have turned into like $1,500. Like, you would have done very well if you went with my picks this week. If you're David, you just kind of like tread water. But follow me. You know what's going on here. We did have a bad week last week, but bounced back. Really strong week this week. And I have a lot of fun being able to play along with all of our picks, which is fun. And I care about them way too much, but I do go over to MyBookie and put them in there. And it's a lot of fun. But if you want to join up and you haven't done it yet, POC is the code. You can use Pac-12 too, but POC is our main code, and it will give you a 100% bonus to your initial deposit. You can bet anything, anytime, anywhere, only over at MyBookie.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful.
It's our sponsor, so I got to talk about our picks. And so it's just a good reason to
it's
how you
important.
get the story. David and I texting back and forth, and we both had picked USC to cover, and he's still thinking about maybe USC can finish 6-6. They're down in the first half. and then they just blow them
Now,
out in the second half.
do some of my
So we got the cover. We got a crazy cover in that one.
if some of my text messages to Ryan saw the light of day, would I be convicted of menacing threats? Maybe.
Yes. Probably.
Maybe. Would they all be directed towards Ryan? No.
No.
Would some coaching staffs have gotten some menacing threats? Potentially. This is why text messages are private.
Yes.
Except for the NSA. I see you.
I'll share them on the screen. No, we had a lot of fun with that. Even in the press box, because we do our picks. I took USC. Dave and I both took USC minus 15.5. Didn't look good for a long time. They get a pick six and they end up covering. We'll get into that later. But Connor next to me, who had took the points, and USC scores the opening touchdown. I'm like, Wisconsin's covering, but I don't know for how much longer. And then Wisconsin just starts blowing them out. So he's looking at me. So there was a lot of like trash talking in the press box. Mm-hmm. And then I tell RJ, I'm like, USC's going to cover on a pick six, and freaking it happened. So I was just like on fire. My picks were really good. I called how USC was going to cover. I had a great weekend, David.
Did you remove a couple of ribs to perform this this act?
I don't know. I was just
this self.
But I literally called pick
gratification.
Pick six for the cover. I was you can't like cheer and stuff in the press box. RJ and I had both had USC to cover. He's sitting next to me. When I said pick six is going to do it, freaking ball bounces off Jacoby Covington's like arm or whatever, and then into Mason Cobb's arms, and he just starts running, and I'm like, it's almost like I was cheering, like I can't do that in the press box, but just because I called the freaking play, I was very excited. See, I'm excited.
I'm so happy for you.
Yeah, good stuff. So what we're going to do is go through in reverse. Is there anything else we need to cover? Oh, by the way, we'll do our Pac-12 mythical power rankings. Congrats to Cal. Let me pull them up.
California Golden Bears.
Game day, baby.
Yeah, game day's going. Miami's coming to Cal. First time ever getting game day. So
yeah, my niece is in her senior year at Cal, at Berkeley, and so she's like on like the rally committee and stuff. So she's super stoked.
Cool.
Yeah.
So what we do is we're going to go through our power rankings in reverse order and talk about each of the games. We have 8 games to recap. There were 2 teams on a bye, Iowa and Northwestern this week. So first up, we're going to go with
UCLA Bruins.
Wow.
They're coming in at number 18. I think they're too low. I mean, I don't know about this one. Okay. They were hosting number 3.
Oregon Ducks.
So my big takeaway from this game is that Oregon might not be very good, because they only beat my beloved Bruins by 21 points on the road.
Yeah.
And
this was a glorious evening cover for me. This was the cherry on top of all my picks.
I'm going to have complaints about 2 covers. One was a coach's problem. This convinced me that Dylan Gabriel was not point shaving at the end of the first half. Convince me.
The pick six?
I need you to convince me, because that ball was directed towards Brian Addison, and his receiver had fallen before he released the ball.
Yeah.
And he throws like a soft toss into the waiting arms of Brian Addison. So for those who didn't watch, those who didn't stay up.
Yeah. I had 2 pick six covers.
Oregon was leading 28-3, and they had gotten the ball back with a little, I think, under 2 minutes to go, and they had driven down to about the UCLA 5. They're obviously going to score at this point. It's just a question of whether they'll get into the end zone or kick a field goal. It's going to be at minimum a 4-touchdown game at halftime. I'm feeling pretty good. Again, I'm feeling pretty good about my cover. Not feeling, any emotion.
Right.
And not feeling any emotion that could be qualified as good.
Because Oregon was favored by 25.5.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then Dylan Gabriel drops back, kind of motors around, is clearly under pressure, and then his receiver trips, falls down. He still throws it, but it wouldn't have connected with his receiver no matter what had happened, because he threw it so poorly, and it was a soft toss to UCLA safety Brian Addison, who returned it 95 yards for a pick six touchdown, which made the score instead 28-10 at halftime instead of. So I guess in light of that, what was your favorite UCLA offensive touchdown in this game?
They were so bad. So bad.
So just some
How
numbers.
did they cover?
Yeah.
So good.
Exactly. Just some numbers. Oregon had 27 first downs. UCLA had 11. Oregon had 431 total yards. UCLA had 172.
Was that the first half, or was that
That's total.
for the game?
Yeah.
100?
No, in the first half, they had 54 yards. They actually had a much better second half. UCLA had to kick a 54-yard field goal at some point to make this score 3 touchdowns instead of 24 points. Yeah, UCLA is really bad. Oregon, I'm not kidding about Oregon though.
I got some concerns.
I've got some concerns. They're very dink and dunk on offense this year. You know, there was a joke about that last year with Bo Nix, but they're really dink and dunk. And their running backs in this game just could not break big plays. It was a lot of like 6-7, but never anything where they're like getting downfield. And their talent indicates that they should be able to do that with more frequency. Like they should be breaking off big chunk plays in the run game more often than they are. So that's a concern. And then it's just a lot of like short pass, and then maybe take a deep shot, but it's really, really like a short passing game. And it requires Dylan Gabriel being uber efficient. And this game, he was very efficient. And so I think their offense tended to stall a little bit more because he wasn't at 84%. He was only at 75% completion rate in this game. But UCLA is really bad, so it doesn't matter. I mean, Oregon was going to win this game no matter what. But also, I would say that kind of weird, they get kind of tight when things start going wrong. That happened again in this one. Like, going into halftime, they throw that pick six, and then the entire third quarter, it was like they were playing with a dark cloud over their heads.
No, yeah, like that. It seemed like that took away any sort of.
And we saw that against Boise State too, where it's just like momentum swings, but like you could see it really affecting the Oregon players, like they get kind of tight. But yeah, I mean, Oregon's still quite good. They still have a lot of talent, and I think this defensive performance for them was probably their best of the year. Yes, the caveat is that UCLA's offense is terrible, but Oregon made them look kind of terrible for a lot of this game. They only really allowed a couple big runs for UCLA. Now that's more than most teams have allowed, but UCLA was really selling out to establish the run in the second half, so it made sense. Ethan Garbers for UCLA was heavily limping by halftime, and then they kept sending him back in there for, I don't know, meathead reasons, and he then got hurt when UCLA was down 21 points the fourth quarter, 9 minutes to go, and they're basically backed up into their own end zone. They send him back out there, and he's literally hobbling onto the field.
Yeah.
It was like something out of like NFL films from like the 1970s.
Yeah, they're just like, I've gone.
But like a playoff game, not some game that you're getting blown out in. So he goes back there behind this horrible offensive line that allowed 4 sacks to a team that I think had 2 coming into the game. And he gets rocked again, taken out of the game, sent to the locker room. So UCLA is going to be down at starting quarterback. We'll see for how long.
David said, do you think they should start if he's healthy? He should start. I think he should start if he's healthy, but it doesn't look like he's going to be healthy.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we'll see, but I would doubt it looking at the way he looked coming off the field. But that was stupid. And then 2 minutes later, they end up surrender punting with 7 minutes and 5 seconds to go, down by 21 at the UCLA 41. They decided to punt it away on 4th and 10, signaling surrender, which is ridiculous.
You love that.
So
I saw your tweets.
I thought it was, again, a horribly coached game, poorly played game, and Oregon, I think quality team, but I don't, again, this is, I'm using the UCLA as a perfect mirror, and Oregon didn't show me enough to think that they're back to being a true contender.
Did you see Bo Nix for the Broncos in the first half? I forget how many passes he completed, but it was like 8 passes for minus like 7 yards or something.
That was incredible.
It was like, wow, we've seen that before, but this is just NFL guys making tackles, like throwing the screen 6 yard behind the line of scrimmage, and they tackle them 2 yards, so that's a -4 gain. That was kind of funny. Eric says, how much is Oregon not showing their hand in preparation for Ohio State? Could it be that? Like, maybe, I don't know, but
I don't know.
But you got to play good at some point. We have, like, outside of the Oregon State game, they just haven't like looked like Oregon.
Yeah, I mean, and they were doing like some stuff. I mean, they had that really nifty pocket reset for Gabriel where they rolled the entire offensive line to the left to set up the deep shot to Tez Johnson down the field. Like, it wasn't like they were just fully doing that. I think it's just the offense. Like, I think the offense is geared mostly around setting up with short passing game. I mean, honestly, if I had a concern, that offensive system can work. It's totally fine. It's the running backs not breaking explosives. I want to see more of that. I want to see more.
Yeah.
I don't know if it requires more outside run, if it requires, a lot of tosses and stuff. But I would just like to see those guys. They're fast and good, getting 20+ yard chunk plays more often.
Yeah, I just wrote a couple notes after watching the game. This game could have gone either way. 2 evenly matched teams, just for David. Yeah, that was. I can't believe, like, I wasn't sure what the spread was, and I was like, okay, I'm not covering this while I'm watching on the couch. USC had an early game, so it was nice to be able to watch at home. And then I was like, oh, it's 25.5. Like, oh, yeah, that pick 6. I was like, it's over. I knew. That was great stuff. So congrats to UCLA for keeping it within the spread. We'll love that. We have a one West Texas Mike from West Texas Mike. Can we swap the tunes for the Gophers and the Bruins? Levels by Avicii and Avicii, what is it? And California Love by Tupac and Dr. Dre are wedded in my mind with USC. Sorry, we're not, like, if you want to change it, then give us a whole new. You can create the whole new sounds, but we're not changing a thing.
Yep.
Because we don't do that. That's not what we do. But thank you for the super chat. We love it. Okay, let's go to our next one. We have number 17, Purdue. If I can find that. Oh, I have to move that up.
Purdue Boilermakers.
And they were hosting our number 10 team.
Nebraska Cornhuskers.
I'm peeling corn.
I'll ask again, Ryan. What was your favorite point in the first half of this game?
When I'm watching the score, and it's like sometimes I use like the Fox app a lot of times, and sometimes one of the games just doesn't update, and it was saying like half. I'm like, oh, actually, it is. Like this. They haven't.
All right, don't look at it. How many missed field goals were there in the first half of this game combined?
I have no idea.
4.
There
were 4 missed field goals in the first half of this game.
E.
This was the most Big Ten game I think I've watched this year. Luckily, we got the second half where Nebraska looked like a normal team again, scoring touchdowns, playing football.
Yeah.
But brutal first half. I mean, Purdue, I think they defensively, Ryan Walters, he's a defensive coach. They looked okay in that first half, then kind of fell apart. But yeah, Nebraska ended up comfortably covering. Just don't ask how. Don't wonder about how.
We both took Nebraska plus 10 or minus 10. Yeah, plus 10. No, minus 10. Sorry.
Minus 10.
Yes.
That's how bets work.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean Purdue, they scored 3 points on offense. No, they ended up scoring 10. Sorry, I was looking.
They got that fourth quarter.
Yeah, and then Nebraska ended up having a pick 6 in the fourth quarter
to kind of push it over. Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, it's another pick 6 that helped with the cover for you.
Yeah.
It's a lot of pick 6s for you this week.
There's 3 pick 6s but I don't think we needed that one.
No, not
quite.
But
it was close. But both teams ran like the same. It was like about 10, 11 drives, about 56 plays a piece. But like Purdue only had 224 yards on the day and 4.0 yards per play. That's terrible. Nebraska, a little, more respectable, 7 yards a play, 405 total yards. But like you said, just not much going on in the first half. If you were needed to take a nap during the day, this was a good game to sort of watch. And then things kind of picked up. But yeah, I was looking at the score because I was covering USC, and it was just like, it can't be 0-0. Something's wrong with that. It's like, nope, it's pretty bad. The note Eric says is, and this is going to be a debate, I think. This is, we've had some controversies over the Podcast of Champion lifetime. This might be one this year. Purdue might be the worst team in the Power 4. Is Purdue going to be able to unseed UCLA at the number 18 spot, or what's going on here?
I think the UCLA-Minnesota game is going to be critical for any movement between UCLA and Purdue at the bottom of these rankings.
Okay.
But that's going to be the decisive game.
Purdue did fire Graham Harrell, who I'd covered at USC, who once when I was doing an interview with him, decided to do a video interview, decided to do it in his car driving. And I was like, oh, that's respectable. Thanks for that.
Why don't
that pissed me off.
Why don't the Big Ten teams just ask us for advice before hiring any former Pac-12 coaches?
Yeah.
Well, because then Ohio State might not have ended up with Charles Edward Kelly.
Charles Edward Kelly. Yeah. So that happened.
I don't want to talk about that game anymore.
Okay.
Nebraska-Purdue.
We're not going to talk about it anymore.
sorry.
Okay. We have number 16.
Play better, Nebraska. I'll talk about you when you play better.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good win.
They
but-
moved the ball really well in the first half. It's just they could not finish drives. Like it wasn't, I don't think they went 3 and out a single time in the first half.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we have number 16.
Northwestern Wildcats.
Arr!
Yeah. They were on a bye.
Yep.
So number 15, we have,
Michigan State Spartans.
Charge!
and they were hosting the number 1 team in our power rankings.
The Ohio State Buckeyes.
This was a frustrating game to observe.
This was great.
Michigan State lost 38-7 to Ohio State. So Ohio State ended up covering.
This was a 23.5 point spread. David took Michigan State. I took Ohio State.
Yeah, and the thing is, it ended up being a pretty dominating win for Ohio State, but there was a chance that this looked like a different game in the first half. But so Michigan State turns it over on downs at the Ohio State 30, at the Ohio State 20. Then they fumble it on the Ohio State 19. Dude, the play-by-play thing on this thing sucks. And then they fumbled it again after a very, very long drive down to the Ohio State 16. So they had 3 drives that got basically within scoring range of Ohio State, and they didn't score on any of them in the first half. Different game, obviously, if they score on any of those. And I don't mean Michigan State would have won. They would not have.
Just like covering.
But I would have covered, and I didn't. Anyway, Ohio State, I would say offensively, they had some weird stuff, like Chip Kelly calling a quarterback sneak or quarterback draw on like 3rd and 3, which was just a perfect Chip Kelly call. They got stuffed. But Jeremiah Smith is a freak.
He had a one-handed catch that was like amazing.
And he never brought the other hand to the ball. He just caught it, hugged it, and ran into the end zone. He's a stupid player. Like it's they've got a lot. I mean, their skill talent is really, really impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, I think their top 2 running backs both of those guys would start for basically everyone in the country. And at receiver, I mean, between Igbuka and Smith, that's a luxury of riches. And then defensively, I mean, I thought they were pretty good. For Michigan State, Aiden Childs cannot keep going back there and throwing horrible duck interceptions and fumbling it.
He's like arm punt central.
Now, one of the fumbles was a completely missed call by the refs. He had a fumble. This was one of the fumbles driving into Ohio State territory where he got a full face mask, which pulled his head around, which was obvious live.
Yeah.
I don't know how they missed it because that's not a way a quarterback's going to start looking when they are running forward.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, let me just check behind me to the right. And they missed it, and then as he's getting twisted, the ball comes loose. It should have not been a fumble. It should have been a 15-yard or half the distance to the goal. But at the same time, he just turns it over too much. And he's
we've been saying that
he's not making effective enough plays regularly. So I don't know what other options they have. I think they just got to kind of roll with him, but he's just got to stop doing that. Ohio State looked pretty good. I don't think they were firing on all cylinders. I thought it was kind of similar to the way Oregon played against UCLA. Just Ohio State had more explosive, interesting plays. But again, I just don't think they're fully at 100% capacity.
Yeah, the first half, it was very close, right? It was 3-0. And at the 17-7 point, David and I were texting because, covering more than 3 scores, it didn't look like that was going to happen. I sent David a text. I'm like, Ohio State's going to cover the spread by 10 points. And he's just like, he said it wasn't something that was nice to me. It might have been the F word or something directed directly at me.
Yeah.
And Ohio State ended up covering the spread by 7.5 points. So I wasn't quite 10, but I could see it. You could see it happening. Like you knew, okay, this is close right now, but it's not going to be. And it wasn't. And I like Aiden Childs. Like, I just feel like there's something not right there because every time you watch him, you see the great play and then you see the like, what the hell was that? And
he still thinks
you're going to win some games, but like, man, you're going to lose some games too.
It's weird because it's the same offense as last year at Oregon State, but it seems like he's still learning the offense. Like that interception was, unless it was just the most horribly missed throw, like he just completely, and that's a more worrying concern that you're that inaccurate at that stage in your career, or he didn't know where the receiver was supposed to be, or the receiver didn't know where he was supposed to be, but like that's just the offense not quite gelling yet. Or he's just horribly inaccurate and occasionally just throws a wounded duck out into the middle of the field.
Yeah, too many arm punts. Ohio State looks like legit real deal. We're hearing a lot about SEC world and stuff. The Alabama-Georgia game was crazy. Ohio State just sort of like building up.
Yeah, they didn't play their best game and won by 31 on the road.
Yeah, so they're building up, and obviously that the one against Oregon is going to be amazing. But Ohio State's doing what they need to do. They look like the class of the conference right now, just from what we've seen. So we got them at our number 1 team. We got a super chat. Thank you to the Kings fan. $1 for me, $1 for Dave, $3 for Matthew for running the Survivor pool. That's gonna like make his salary like so much more than it was before. No, great stuff. Thank you for that. The super chat. I don't think we're gonna get Matthew his money. Are you gonna? You have to give it. You have to send him his money.
That's so true. I got to send Matthew. Well, I got to take out my taxes from it first. So he's gonna get, I think, about $2.
Yeah, that's not bad though.
Yeah.
It's like he can do something with that.
That's so true.
Okay. That was number 15, Michigan State, and number 1, Ohio State. Now we have number 14,
Wisconsin Badgers.
It's one of the good ones. They went to number 6,
USC Trojans.
Never in doubt.
USC won. We dropped them like 3 spots. Whatever.
Never in doubt. 38-21 USC. I got nothing else to say. This game was never in doubt. There was never an issue. It was never 21-10 at halftime, Wisconsin in the lead. It was just a seamless victory for your USC Trojans.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. I was like, Dave sent me a text like halftime, was like 6-6 is still a possibility, and it definitely looked like it. I mean, this was the worst half of USC football that I've seen this year. Wisconsin, not an explosive play offense. They had that bomb, that 63-yarder. That was really pretty. I thought Wisconsin did some good things coming out on the road. And then kind of Danton Lynn, the DC for USC, does what he does, and he shuts teams out in the second half. And Wisconsin didn't sniff the field. Now, USC was outgaining them, all that stuff, like way more yards and everything, but they turned the ball over 3 times in the first half, including muffing a punt inside their own red zone, and Wisconsin scores 1 play later. So I think Wisconsin did a really good job sort of taking advantage of USC kind of sleepwalking through the first half. Outside of the opening drive, they scored on the opening drive and then just went to sleep. But then USC just turned it on, and it looked like the team we kind of thought you would expect there. Wisconsin, though, I thought showed there were some good signs, I think, early, in that first half.
I have a question. Is there a special rule that Wisconsin can score like 10 or 11 points in a single play, or like on a one drive? Are they allowed to do that?
What do you mean? What was
are they allowed to do that? That's my question.
No.
Do you know if there's a special rule or like something in like some dusty old tome that Wisconsin can do that?
I don't think so. No.
Okay. Then Luke Fickell unfortunately had a piano fall on his head and he has brain damage now. Because with 7 minutes and 19 seconds left to go in this game on 4th and 6 at the Wisconsin 41, down by 10 points, he punted the ball away.
Yeah, I shouldn't do that.
Shouldn't do that. You know why? Because you can only score 7 points or 8 points maybe at a time. You probably wouldn't go for the 8 at that point because that's a 2-point conversion, and that won't really help you on getting back to the back to what USC had scored at that point, which was 31 points. You have 21, so that means you need to get to the end zone or the field goal twice. So if you get a touchdown, that's 7 points, right? Then you can get another touchdown, and that'll actually potentially win you the game.
Or
or
you're trying to do. That's
or
the whole
you
point.
kick a field goal, and then you've tied the game, and then it goes to a new set of minutes that are called overtime, right?
Yeah.
But you need to do that twice. And it's kind of hard to do that against a good offense, right? That's been running up and down the field on you most of the second half.
So you recommend a punt there?
I would recommend, considering you're at midfield on relatively short 4th down yardage, that you just go for it. If you don't get it, you know what happens? USC has the ball, but you know what you were going to do with a punt? You're going to give them the ball anyway. So just give it to them there. That's fine.
It's like a surrender punt.
And then if your defense stops them there, great. If they stopped them, after a punt, also great. If they don't stop them, they weren't going to stop them anyway. So don't worry about it.
Yeah. This is I could see Wisconsin losing this one because it was all going Wisconsin's way in the first half, but to also get blown out and not cover the spread, it was 21-10 and you're getting 15.5 points. Like, what has to happen for you to cover it? Basically, you can't score in the second half and then you give up 28 to the other team, including a pick six, which is what happened in this one. But it got us to cover. Like David said, it was never in doubt.
Never in doubt.
Never in doubt. Yeah, a couple of good catches by Jacoby Lane. This was one of those where you're like, all right, USC kind of did what they needed to do. They got their first ever Big Ten win. Wisconsin's still trying to figure some things out. Both of us weren't super high on the Badgers, although David picked them to upset a couple of teams. But I think they still got some work to do, and we'll see. But good first half effort in LA, and but then they just couldn't put anything together in the second half. Okay, moving on, we have our number 13 team,
Minnesota Golden Gophers.
and they went to our number 5 team,
Michigan Wolverines.
Scratch.
This was an upsetting one for us as people who
This is the only one I got wrong.
people who picked Michigan to cover.
And they were covering at the end.
I mean, they were covering for so much of this game, and then they just sat on it.
The only one I got wrong was a bad beat.
Yeah. Michigan won 27-24. Look, I think for Minnesota fans, obviously the season is not kind of going the way you would have hoped. I do like that they didn't quit in this game, and at no point kind of quit. Like, even at the end of the first half, I mean, they had to like speed run a field goal onto the field to kick that one before halftime, which, they're down by 21 at that point. Like, if there's a mess up there, it's 3 points, but still committed, still focused, still able to do it. Good. And then scoring 21 points in the fourth quarter. That's fight. They tried, and, it was a completely bullshit offsides call on the onside kick. So
That was terrible.
There's an alternate universe just to the left of us where Minnesota wins this game. So you got to like the fight. You got to like all that. And, I've talked about the UCLA Minnesota game in a couple of weeks. Is that game going to be a quit off? Like, which team has quit by that point in the year? I think Minnesota's got the leg up on not quitting right now. So it's going to be interesting to monitor over the next week which one approaches quitting levels, because whichever one can win that game, I think, sees maybe a tiny bit of momentum from it and potentially turn around their season to some small extent.
So Minnesota, 2-3 now, played 2 bad teams and shut them both out, and then played 3 Power 5 teams, 2 conference games, and lost all of them. Could have won the
painfully against North Carolina and painfully in this one.
Yeah,
like
could
they're
have lost
not.
to North Carolina. The Iowa game, they were winning early, and then they just fell apart in the second half.
Iowa was just. I think Minnesota fans would concede Iowa was just simply a better team. North Carolina and Michigan, I think you'd look at that and say, "Wow, that was frustrating."
They're winnable.
That's a frustrating game to lose.
But to score 21 points in the fourth quarter, like where was Minnesota's offense sort of through there? And on the Michigan side, Alex Orji did throw the ball a little bit more. I rewatched the second half of that game, and there were passes like his longest completion ever, the furthest the ball traveled downfield. But there's like when he throws it, there's sort of like there's like just a lack of touch. It just seems like it's hurling towards a destination, and you're not sure if it's going to get there or not. But he completed some passes in this one. Didn't really run all that effectively. I think he had a big loss that took away some of it. But Minnesota showed a lot of spark. I mean, Michigan would have just shut them. There was 9.5 point spread. Minnesota got a 61-yard punt return to set up that score to bring it to 24-17. Michigan ended up kicking a field goal, and then all that crazy stuff happened where Minnesota had a real chance. And once they get that onside kick, it looked really good. I mean, it's like when you watch soccer and they call offsides because like a guy's getting close to being offside. Like that's what it was like. It was like close to being offsides, and they called it, and you're just like, what? And I think even Joel Klatt on the broadcast was like, yeah, just doing it. And then you look at it again, and you're like, I don't see the offside. Like you shouldn't have overturned that at all, So it would have given Minnesota a real opportunity there. I think Michigan's defense was tired at that time. That final touchdown catch was crazy. The one-handed grab, they called it incomplete, and they called pass interference. And then they're like, on further review, it was a touchdown. I was like, yeah, that's a touchdown. Like it was freaking crazy.
Yeah.
So the Wolverines could keep the little brown jug. And I said I can't keep track of all these trophies, but that's a bummer for. I mean, Minnesota played poorly for a lot of the game, but then put it together, and then Michigan sort of just like fell apart for a while.
Yeah, I mean, but this was a defensive struggle, and I think if you look at kind of the underlying stats, I mean, it's basically one more turnover for Minnesota was probably decisive here, but otherwise they outgained them. They did the same on third down. They had 5 more first downs. They were 2 of 2 on fourth down. You're not going to play like an awesome offensive game against Michigan, but they ended up playing an okay game offensively against Michigan. It was okay enough to win this one if the fates had aligned a little bit differently.
So I think it was the 5th straight home game for Michigan, so they're going to finally get some road games coming up, I think. Okay, so let's move on. We have our number 12 team.
Washington Huskies.
This was our Friday night game. They were on the road taking on
Rutgers Scarlet Knights.
Scarlet Knight.
Jed Fish should be in prison.
Wait, what was the spread in this one? Rutgers by 2.5.
Uh-huh.
This got my weekend started good. I took Rutgers. You took Washington.
Jed Fish should be in prison. Washington outgained.
Fish should be in prison.
Washington outgained Rutgers 521 yards to 299. That's a lot of yards in between. That's almost an entire Michigan offensive day in between.
Sounds like a cover to me.
Rutgers ended up winning 21-18. Look, I'm gonna give Rutgers a little bit of their flowers first. They just play kind of mistake-free football, and they do just enough, and it was just enough.
James said Bill Connolly had Rutgers as 3% post-game win expectancy.
Thanks.
Does that help you?
No, it does not make me feel any better. Rutgers, they did just enough. I would say Washington did a pretty good job shutting down Monangai most of the time, but then he would hit an explosive play.
Yeah, Monangai is really good.
It was like a lot of like shut down, and then boom. And he was getting the occasional boom. And also Samuel Brown, their backup running back, he's pretty good too. They've got a couple of pretty good running backs. You know who else has a good running back? Washington. You know how many times he ran the ball in this game? 16. You know how many times they threw the ball with Will Rogers? 36. Jed Fish. The pianos are falling heavily tonight.
Catherine says, how many times does a piano have to fall on Jed Fish's head before we conclude it was there the whole time?
I mean, I think we have to start engaging with the idea that he's just a very stupid person. Like, we have to start just like considering the possibility that yes, he can recruit, yes, he can design an offense, but he's also a very stupid person.
I'm looking at the recording. Your levels are much louder right now than
I'm
they were
so
before.
mad. I'm so mad about this game. All right. I mean, there was a lot. There was a lot here. If you didn't watch, you should have.
It's Friday night game.
It was
Yeah,
a pretty
good.
fun game. Washington was outplaying Rutgers most of the game, could not finish drives, just could not do it. And
Yeah.
then they had
It was like moving the ball, but terrible red zone. You know?
and then missing field goals, which we'll get to in a second. And then the dumbest penalties you've ever seen. They blocked a Rutgers field goal at one point, but then they had an excessive celebration because of a player running onto the field to celebrate.
I don't know if I've ever seen that.
Where I think they called no, it wasn't excessive celebration. It was illegal participation.
Yeah.
Which it could have been illegal participation, or it could have been 12 men on the field because he wasn't involved in the play. Like, it wasn't like he ran on late because there were 10 guys there and he was the 11th. No. He was just celebrating, just having a good time. So that happened.
Like, Washington was out playing. Rutgers was up, I think it was 7-3 at the time, and they were going to kick a field goal to make it like 10-3 before half. And you're like, okay, and Washington, they blocked the freaking field goal. The dude runs on the field, nothing to do with the play, and right in front of the referee, and you just see the guy throw it up. Rutgers scores a touchdown, and it's now 14-3 instead of maybe, Washington scoring the other way. It was the worst. I mean, it just boneheaded play ever, and it gave so much momentum to Rutgers that those 100 or 200 yards in between whatever their gains are, like those kind of plays, you just gifted Rutgers a touchdown.
Right. And so on top of that, they miss a field goal early where he pulls it left. More on this in a second. Then with, let's see, it was 21-10 Rutgers, and we're into the fourth quarter now, and Washington's driving, right? And they get it down once again to 4th and 5 at the Rutgers 20. So right there, here's another interesting thing. This is with 7 minutes and 21 seconds left in the game. You're facing an 11-point deficit. This isn't a 10-point deficit. This is critical. This is really important. So at that point,
we're going to do math.
You need to kick a field goal potentially, but if you kick that field goal, you're then going to have to score a touchdown, and then you're going to have to score a 2-point conversion. That's like another touchdown. You got to get it in the end zone again from about the 2.5. Okay, so you're going to have to score 3 times in kind of these interesting ways. And a point after is the most sure way of scoring. A 2-point conversion, much less sure. Okay,
yes.
So, and that's just to tie the game. Okay, so you got to build that into your math. And if you've got, say, a 4th and 5 at your opponent's 20, and you've been moving the ball pretty well for most of, say, the entire fucking game, you maybe just go for it instead of kicking it again with your guy who already missed from right there, wide left. What does he do when they kick?
Was it? He must have made it, right? Because he adjusted.
No, he pulled it left. But that's not all.
You could have known.
That's not all. Okay. Then they do score. They score a touchdown, and they get the 2-point conversion. And kudos to Jed Fish. That's hard. That's scoring twice, and he probably didn't even know that a 2-point conversion was a thing until they got to that point. And then he's like, "What? Somebody's telling me about a 2-point conversion. How do we do that?" But then they get the ball again, and they're driving, and it's the fourth quarter, and it's like last seconds of the game, and they've got the ball at the Rutgers 43 with 11 seconds to go. It's 1st and 10. Clock stopped. They're good. So at that point, you've got a kicker who's missed a couple of times, right?
Yeah.
Now, do you think you should use those 11 seconds to say throw 2 shitty little outs to your running backs out of the backfield to get maybe like 6 more yards so you can attempt the longest field goal in this kicker's life?
Seems smart, right?
No, I don't think so. Should you maybe instead, I don't know, throw something in intermediate depth since you have 11 seconds, and again, you've been moving the ball at will most of the game. Maybe throw, I don't know, a 12 to 14 yard out to the sideline and get it, I don't know, half a, get it into reasonable field goal range. He doesn't do that. He throws 2 dinky little passes, sets up a 55-yard field goal for Grady Gross. And guess what? Guess what? He missed
He
it.
made that one?
He missed it by pulling it left. It had the distance, but it was once again pulled left. Yeah. I think Jed Fish is going to work there at some level. I was high on the hire, but good God, the game management, the play calling has to be adjusted because this was ridiculous.
I'm going to give you a stat. Give shout out to Evan Feather on Twitter, tweeted this out. So if a team through 5 games, their quarterback, 110 of 147 for almost 75%, 1,354 yards, 10 touchdowns, no picks. The best running back, 72 carries, 521 yards, 4 touchdowns. Best receiver, 30 catches, 412 yards, 7 touchdowns. And they got a guy with 34 catches, 400 yards, and a touchdown. Okay, they're scoring some points, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe the defense sucks. Mm-hmm. Defense, allowing 12 points per game. Mm-hmm. What would you think their record would be? Would it be 3-2?
I think I'd probably go with 5-0.
That's what it is.
Yeah, no, this is what I was saying coming into the game. Remember when we were previewing it? I'm like, analytics love Washington.
Yes.
They love them. But they can't finish drives. They cannot. They have not been able to this year. And if that doesn't change, if they're consistently trying to kick field goals when they should be going for touchdowns, they're going to lose more games that they should win. But I would say, like, people are now doom and gloom on Washington, and I don't think that's right either. I do think they can win a lot of games. We'll get to this in our preview show. They're currently favored against Michigan this weekend. Like,
wow.
Analytics love Washington. They love what they've been doing. Some of it's being snake bit by bad luck. Some of it is being snake bit by your dumb head coach. If he can remove the piano from his head, there's a very good chance that they'll win more games this year.
Yeah. Jim said the kicker didn't miss by the last one by that much, and he says the offensive line can't punch it in. Yeah, I mean, I think you need to assert yourself. You got to do something. You can't move the ball that well and then fail to. But they've scored a bunch of touchdowns too. Unfortunately, I think it was off the bad teams they're scoring more against, but only giving up 12 points a game. It's not like they're giving up a ton, and have lost 2 games. It seems fairly criminal. But one of my favorite covers ever. Love it. I think Dave was it about this game where you were complaining, or is it maybe the Michigan State game? And I was like, if there was only some way to know that.
Oh no,
I
was complaining about Aiden Childs, and you're like, if only there was some way to know that he turns the ball over a lot. And that's when I said another vulgar thing.
Yeah, that was kind of vulgar at me, but that's okay. I liked it. All right, number 11, we've got
Maryland Terrapins.
Snap.
I've never realized this until recently, but that sound is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle sound.
Oh, is that what we're going with?
No, like listen to the music.
Oh yeah. It's Teenage Mutant.
Maryland Terrapins.
I love that.
I didn't it was in my head, but I'm like, that's a Teenage.
Yeah, I don't think I'd put that together either.
No. And they're taking on number 4,
Indiana Hoosiers.
Hey, folks. I'm from Indiana.
All right. This is the game that I feel went closest to our expectations, not in terms of the final score, but like just in terms of the overall kind of Indiana's just an outclassing team. And it's not that Maryland's bad. They're not. And Billy Edwards, I think, is a good, effective quarterback. But they're running into a buzzsaw in this game. Indiana turned the ball over 3 times in the first half and still won this game 42-28.
Yeah, it's kind of like the USC Minnesota game sort of thing.
But like Curtis Rourke doing Wisconsin like game. Wildly uncharacteristic things, and I will give Maryland credit. I think they were forcing some of that, they were doing it defensively, but then also a fumble in the first half, and no faltering. No concerns about it. Indiana then just still is up at halftime, 14-7, and then just methodically pours it on in the second half. They were up 42-21, and then allowed a late Maryland touchdown. But this was a 7-point game for Indiana. They covered by 7, and if Curtis Rourke plays more like the Curtis Rourke of the first 4 games of the year. I mean, they might have won this one by 21 or 28.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Maryland had a couple of drives in the second half. Like, I don't want to take too much away from Maryland because I do still think they're a quality team. But Indiana's coached by a killer, and the killer Cignetti will continue to kill until somebody stops him and puts him in jail.
This team won 3 games last year. We have to remember that. So it was early. They got a couple of early turnovers. You saw that one long Maryland touchdown. The ref literally tackled, I think it was the Indiana safety. And just, there was one of those things in the first half, a lot of stuff didn't go right for Indiana. You're a team trying to turn around a 3-win team, and maybe you're playing better, but at first half like Maryland happens and you're not able to overcome it, which is understandable. Just a lot of things went wrong. Freaking ref blocked a guy and they scored a touchdown. And they still overcame all of it and still piled it on in the second half and still showed why you said Sig is a killer. He is just, he's changed this team so much, and to the point now, I think the odds makers are going to start catching up. This was the one line we were just like, this didn't make much sense to be only favored by 7. And things were going Indiana's way, and they did. I do like Maryland. I think they can do some good things. It's going to be like a week in, a week out. Like, you're going to have to play well, and maybe a team play down a little bit. But you sort of run into a buzzsaw in Indiana. And then when Indiana didn't play a good first half, you have to take more advantage than what Maryland did. But this was very impressive. To me, this was really impressive, just showing some resiliency that Indiana is like a legit, like, hey, you didn't think when Ohio State plays Indiana was going to be like, it's going to be good now,
They might be undefeated at that point.
Yeah.
No, I mean, we got to work out like a good line because cigarettes kill, Signetti kills. Like, cigarettes are a killer, Signetti's a killer. Like, can we get warning labels like they have on packs of cigarettes, like for Signetti? Because I've seen the Marlboro one. That's cool. But can we get, because I want Signetti is a killer to be, because he looks like a dead-eyed, psychopath assassin. He's a killer. He sounds like a killer. Like, everything is said with the same monotone. Like, he's a killer.
I like it. No, I like
let's
that.
Get it going.
We could create shirts. Jim says, how long, and we've had other people in the chat talk about that. How's he going to stay in Indiana before a blue blood comes for him? I kind of could see him just staying for a while,
I could see
my
him.
My gut saying he could.
He could. He could also get a big offer. Right now, they're not paying him top-tier money, and he is a top-tier coach. So he's getting, I think, a little over $4 million a year. Some school could look at what he's done immediately, the immediate turnaround. Try to analyze the eligibility of all the players he has and say, hey, want to come here and bring all of your guys again?
I mean, he brought his from James Madison.
So, I mean, I would, if I'm Indiana, you look at the energy in the stands against Maryland this past weekend, and you look at that and you say, we need to do everything in our power to keep this guy. And so I think you prepare to tear up his contract and write him a new one.
I think you have to.
Where you're doubling his money.
Florida's going to come. I think
a lot of schools are going to come because they look at what he's doing and saying, oh, no, he's not going to need like the time that a lot of these guys need. Yeah. He's going to be able to do it immediately, so we need to do everything possible to make this happen. So Indiana needs to step up big, I think, to keep him.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We talked about Nebraska. We have number 9.
Iowa Hawkeyes.
They're on a bye.
Mm-hmm.
This was the big one, the ranked matchup, the only ranked matchup of the weekend. We have number 8.
Illinois Fighting Illini.
Hi, I'm from Illinois.
And taking on, we have them at number 2 now. If I can play.
Penn State Nittany Lions.
Rawr.
So I'll say first, I mean, this felt like an obvious cover. Illinois covering the 19 or whatever it ended up being when we recorded last week, 19 and a half.
Yeah.
Illinois is good. They're a good, well-coached team.
We both took Illinois in this one.
And I think that's become obvious the more and more we watch this year. And they looked good in this game. I mean, they weren't able to score, essentially, after the first drive. They missed a field goal in the first half. But defensively, they were in this game until very, very late. And it's just Penn State can kind of sit on you a little bit. They've got a really good defense. And with that really good defense, they can just kind of suck the life out of your offense, and that's more or less what happened here. And Penn State has, this side of Ohio State, the best running back tandem in college football, and those guys were pretty good in this game. So if you can control the clock, you can control the game with your run game the way Penn State can, score just enough and then sit on another team. That's more or less what they did in this game. I don't think it says anything necessarily bad about Illinois. They covered, and that opening drive was a thing of beauty. I mean, Luke Altmaier looked great. It's just you're not going to put together that many drives against Penn State, and that's basically what happened here. Penn State, I know some Penn State fans are like, oh, we're never covering, disappointed with, X, Y, or Z, and, maybe the passing offense is looking a little bit more like last year than it did briefly in the opener. I still think there's an explosive passing offense in here somewhere. It wasn't apparent against Illinois, but Illinois' got a pretty good defense. So I don't think you'd take too much away from that. And besides, I'll just preview it for you. You're going to be pretty happy on Saturday watching your team. You will. Like you maybe were a little disappointed this week. Don't worry. This weekend, you're going to feel really good. And it won't even be like one of those FCS games that don't count. This is going to be a game against a team that looks like an FCS team, but it counts for real. Yeah. It's going to feel like a real game. It's not like an exhibition because it is. It actually counts in the conference standings. So you're going to be fine. And you got two great running backs. I still think Penn State's a legit contender in the Big Ten. And I think this game is more evidence to that than evidence against it.
Yeah, being able to win a game like this, slobber knocker, like Illinois scores that first drive. I mean, but unfortunately, that was most of their yards for the entire game. They only had 8 drives. Illinois had 8 drives in this game. The game was shrunk. It was very Big Ten-y, and Penn State was just going to be better at doing some of those things. And scoring 14 points in the second half, and Illinois couldn't get on the scoreboard, and they just sort of strangled you to death. And so this was good showing. It's a ranked team that had looked better than a lot of people thought. And so it was just one of those things, just take care of business. And Penn State did. So it wasn't I wasn't say there's the most exciting game if you're going to watch football.
No, definitely not.
3.8 yards per play for the Illini. That's not very good.
Real slobber knocker. I thought that was a great term for it.
Yeah. So, but this is what you want to do. And I think Penn State, you got to win these games, but it's going to come down to, we've seen Penn State just win all these games in the years and years we've been covering the Big Ten. But you got to be, the big ones. Can you do that? Now, this ended up being a pretty big one because, Illinois came in ranked and maybe surprised some people. But there's some other big games coming up, and I think not this week for Penn State, but coming up after that, then you gotta go and get some wins there. Play that slobber knocker style, but get the win.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Well, that's it for our games. Why don't we take a quick break and we'll come back and do some. We'll do the power rankings for the Pac-12 and then do some questions.
All right.
All righty. We're back here on the Podcast of Champions. We thought we'd get through those 8 games quickly. It took us an hour, so we did not. Quickly, we'll do our mythical Pac-12 Power Rankings. We have number 12.
UCLA Bruins.
Ass.
We got number 11.
Stanford Cardinals.
Got the life smoked out of them by Clemson.
Terrible. Number 10.
Oregon State Beavers.
Didn't play.
Number 9.
Washington Huskies.
Jedfish is dumb.
Number 8.
Arizona State Sun Devils.
They were on a bye.
Number 7.
Arizona Wildcats.
Wait, did I screw that up?
You totally did. There's no way they should be 7.
No, I thought I moved them. Where do you want them?
Let's make them.
You want to do 3?
Yeah, what the hell? Make them 3.
Okay, we'll move that around. Okay. Changing as we go. We have number 7.
Colorado Buffaloes.
Crap.
Got to shout this one out. And again, is this too low?
I think it is. Where do you want them?
God. You didn't do this.
I thought I did, but maybe it didn't take.
Let's put them above Washington State for sure.
Utah? Above Utah?
Yeah, what the hell? Let's throw them up there.
Okay.
Because they keep lying about Cam Rising.
I am very tired of that. Did you like my tweet?
Yeah,
I thought it was pretty good.
great.
Okay. Number 7 will actually be
Washington State Cougars.
We are such a well-oiled machine. Yeah, Washington State got its ass kicked by Boise State. Ashton Genty is a freak. He should win the Heisman today.
he's good. We got number 6.
California Golden Bears.
Number 5.
Utah Utes.
Just tell me if Cam Rising is playing.
Yeah,
Just
please,
tell me.
before
Holy
game
shit.
time.
Unfucking believable.
Yeah, Utah.
I'm so tired of it. I can't fucking stand it anymore. The whole year of that, and they're doing it again.
Nothing makes Ryan angrier than people who ignore spring games, people who disrespect Media Day. Cam Rising and Utah, they disrespected the sanctity of Pac-12 Media Day, and he will not stand for it. Arizona beat that ass 23-10. You gotta play Arizona's music. This is conference play, baby.
Number 3.
Arizona Wildcats.
Now, some of it was Utah couldn't get anything going in their passing game, but hey, go Wildcats, bear down.
Yeah, pretty cool. Number 4, we'll put
Colorado Buffaloes.
They were 16-point dogs in this game against UCF and won 48-21.
Yeah.
Go Buffs.
I do vote in the Heisman, and Travis Hunter right now is definitely on my ballot. Number 2.
Ashton Genty, Travis Hunter.
Yeah, I think they're both on there. Number 2.
USC Trojans.
And number 1.
Oregon Ducks.
That's right, baby.
Cool. Okay. We have a voicemail.
Sure.
Let's do it.
Hello, Ryan. Hello, Sith Lord Dave. That's right, it's me, the resident Rutgers fan. Oh, Ryan. Thou hast got my dauber up, my friend. You may not even remember. You do so many podcasts, you probably don't even remember. Hungover during your Big Ten preview show a couple days ago, you went, while pandering for 5-star reviews, you, and I quote, said, check and see what reviews have been written. We have a lot of gift cards. Don't go up against Shane. I mean, why go against Ohio State when you could go against Rutgers, unquote. Ryan Aloysius Abraham, born 2/29/71. Social Security number 139566969. Oh, I know you, Ryan Abraham. Every breath you take and every step you make, every pick you fake, every claim you stake, I'll be watching you. And I'm not talking the Sting version. I'll be watching you like Sean Puffy Combs, Ryan Abraham. That's what you get. I guess if I had a question, it would be, what do the underlying numbers say about Rutgers, Dave? 4-0, couple big wins, but what do they say? Where are we at? Give it to me straight. I came a long way to hear this. Keep it mediocre, boys.
Nice.
That was, is he still there?
No. You don't really want the Zodiac Killer to have your Social Security number. That's probably bad, huh?
No, yeah, it's not good.
Birthday, Social Security number.
Rutgers is a solid football team. Not great. And defensively, they've been a fair bit worse than they were last year. Still expected to be a comfortable bowl team, but schedule-wise, they still have a pretty easy slate. So we'll see. But should have lost against Washington, as we talked about. And we'll see if they can, maybe regain some of their defensive form from last year.
Yeah. Okay. I think we start off with a text message.
Where
We got a lot of. It's Dave. It must be interesting doing a football podcast while being a fan of the basketball school. Oh, did we do that one?
I don't know.
University of California, Los Angeles. I see you are already performing fellatio on Ohio State fans. To respond to your thoughts on Ohio State, it isn't crazy to think that they should play the second best program in the same state at least every 2 to 3 years, and maybe on the road every 10 years. It's just ridiculous.
This guy has a real thing about this.
Why is this
it's the same guy?
Why is this a thing? Who cares?
Who cares whether Ohio State plays Cincinnati or not?
I don't care.
I can't care. I will not care.
Moratorium
I choose not to care.
on that.
It's like if somebody got really upset that like USC doesn't play San Diego State enough.
Yeah.
Like what are we doing here? Who cares?
Yeah, I don't know.
All right. Sometimes coach. This is from Dave. Sometimes coach say they focused on penalties and you believe them, and it's a picture of Steve Sarkisian superimposed over somebody pouring a bunch of whiskey. It looks like.
Yeah, it might be Scotch, but
yeah, Scotch. Sure. All right. Scotch is whiskey. Let's be real. Let's just call it what it is. Okay.
Okay. Bourbon.
Just because of this branding, who gives a
Bourbon?
shit? Bourbon is also whiskey. It's just
Okay.
whiskey.
Okay.
Okay. Let's go back to Old West. All right. It's just all whiskey.
XXX on the
Yes.
Give me a triple X.
Like, stop
Shove
with
it.
this, like, oh, yeah, these are different things. No, you're only drinking it to make your head bad. It doesn't matter what it's called. This is from Jason.
Jason.
Oh, you want to do this one?
Oh, go ahead.
UCLA is bad at football. Hey, Dave and Ryan. I am writing this email mere moments after Oregon just ran the swinging gate on a fake extra point to walk in for 2 against the Bruins. I need to vent on pent-up emotions that I've been holding since UCLA let Chip Kelly leave. First off, the hire of Foster was clearly a lazy and cheap one. Foster is a nice guy, and I'm sure he's a great person, but he has zero business being a head coach. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I really miss Chip Kelly calling plays. He took anyone who wanted to play running back and turned them into a decent to good running back. What UCLA has right now points to everyone being unprepared and clueless to what their assignments are. It's one thing for a team to not be talented and have guts, but it's a completely other thing to have a team that looks unprepared completely. I prefer the former, and all that takes is good coaching. I'll leave you with this question. I know UCLA didn't want to fire Kelly, but did they really not see him clearly wanting to leave? Couldn't they have hired Lynn? Thanks for your time.
Could they have hired Danton Lynn?
Yes, of course.
Well,
All possibilities are open to you if you fire at the right time. If you fire Chip Kelly in November, you can hire anybody you want.
Yeah.
Doesn't really matter.
So by the time he left, Lynn was already gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can't really do
But
that.
if you fire your head coach when you're supposed to fire your head coach, say after they've lost to a team at home that's playing a tight end and a running back at quarterback, who knows? You could hire anybody. You could hire Jed Fish. You could hire Jonathan Smith. You could hire Danton Lynn. You could hire, anybody you want. You could hire Tony White. Yeah, that possibility was available to you at multiple junctures. Instead, they hired Deshaun Foster in February because they waited out Chip Kelly, I guess hoping that he was so bad and his name had sunk so low that nobody would hire him. Like, imagine, okay, we're gonna think about this. Our head coach is looking at every single position that's available, including Iowa's offensive coordinator role. He's looking at everything. We want him. Nobody else does. We're going to keep him as long as nobody else hires him. And thinking that that's a good and effective strategy. Thinking that, like, yeah, this guy that nobody else wants, he's definitely our man going forward. Like, just zero vision. Zero.
Yeah. Doesn't seem smart.
Yeah, not good.
Alex in San Francisco, UCLA fans picking their poison. We got a lot of UCLA talk. We need Purdue to like take over the 18th spot, and we get a lot of Purdue emails. Hey, Dave and Ryan, UCLA fans are debating whether or not a one-win coach can survive into year 2 if you care about the health of the program at all. Problem is, our new chancellor doesn't start until January 2025. So if you fire Foster this December, it's Jarman once again making the new hire. I genuinely don't know what's worse for UCLA, letting Jarman make another hire or accepting 2 years of this. Taking aside financial realism, is it more important to reboot as soon as possible with people in charge no one trusts, or is it more important to eat shit for an extra year and get new leadership at AD if that's the choice to make? I think it's more important to eat shit for a year and then make the change then. I don't know. What do you think?
Depends on how much shit you're eating. I mean, really it does. If UCLA goes 1-11 this year, the level of drop off in interest and season tickets and all that kind of stuff, like I was saying a couple weeks ago, you just can't predict what's going to happen now because it's going to be something unprecedented. UCLA has been bad before. I don't think they've ever looked as just completely moribund as they look right now. So a lot will depend on that Minnesota game. Like I think there's a world of difference between 1-11 and 3-9, and I think they've got to look at it and say, if we can get to 3-9, then they justify it. They justified keeping Chip Kelly after 3-9 his first year, they'll probably be able to justify keeping Deshaun Foster. But at 1-11, you just don't know. You don't know what booster reaction is going to be like. You don't know what player reaction is going to be like. Nobody wants to stick around when you're going 1-11.
Yeah.
So there's just,
it's hard to have like any kind of like buy-in at that
my
point.
point is hands might be forced. Like it might not be choices and strategy and all that kind of stuff. It just, some of these things just happen sometimes because things are bad.
Yeah.
Too bad. All right, this is from Croissant Barbu. What if Dylan Gabriel edition? Hey guys, your Parisian friend here back at it with another theory. Season is panning out to be so painful for us Bruins that I sometimes catch myself daydreaming about what could have been. Loved your attempt at a French accent last time, so here's some material if you'd like to take another shot at it. Hope you worked on it. I did not. So we all witnessed Dylan Gabriel picking us apart, at least during the first half. As we all know, a couple of years ago, the guy was committed to us for what seemed like 2 weeks before going to Oklahoma. I can't help to wonder where we would be today if he stayed with us. Could he get us over the hump? Could he lead us to a Pac-12 championship, a playoff spot? Would Chip still be here? Would Dante Moore commit elsewhere? Or maybe the total opposite. Maybe his career would have been crushed by the holes left wide open by our offensive line. R.I.P. Ethan Garber's ankle. I guess we'll never know. Anyway, kind of crazy to see where he is today and where we are today when we look back at this brief period in history when he was a Bruin. Keep it mediocre. Croissant Barbu.
Croissant.
The big thing that happened here was that Dorian Thompson-Robinson elected to stay for his 5th year, and so instead Gabriel went to Oklahoma. If Dorian Thompson-Robinson had not stayed for his 5th year, Gabriel probably still ends up at UCLA, and so it would have been a different deal, and he would have had 3 years from that point. I don't know. I think 2023 would have been a lot better.
Yeah.
That's for sure. They would have had a credible quarterback who can move a little bit, which would have been necessary behind that offensive line, and probably win a couple more games. And then Chip Kelly maybe doesn't decide he's going to pursue every single job opening in the offseason.
We had a comment in the chat before I read the next question. Blaze Bunny, imagine if USC hired Reggie Bush as head coach, or the Ducks hired LaMichael James. It was LaMichael James, right? That was the Ducks running back.
Yes.
Yeah, it was that there. Okay, next question. It's from POC Jock. Okay, POC Inspiration. Hello, Ryan and Dave. The gift card guy inspired a brilliant idea. At the end of the season, I'll leave the POC a review that matches UCLA's win count. I can't wait for you guys to ignore my glowing sub 5-star review. No, do not do that.
No.
How can we change this? Yeah, we do not want that.
No, leave as many reviews as UCLA losses.
That's better.
And all of those be 5-star reviews.
Yeah, perfect.
Thank you. Perfect. All right. This is from POC Jock. POC Inspiration. Oh, wait. No, you just did that one.
Yeah.
This is from Kai. New text message. Fellas, specifically David Woods. UCLA's performance against Oregon was some of the most atrocious coaching I've ever seen. This was made worse by Deshaun Foster clearly waving the white flag and punting on 4th and 10 with 7 minutes remaining. It's clear that he's not ready, and we're not likely to win maybe any of the remaining games on the schedule. I can't imagine a single recruit in the country wants to be a part of the product being put out on the field this year. Is there a point at which we pull the plug on Foster midseason and try to salvage something from this roster? How bad would it need to get for something like that to happen, assuming a competent AD? Who would be the most likely replacement? I think you answered your question in the second one here. You're making an assumption. The likelihood of them getting rid of Foster midseason, I would say, is extremely slim.
Yeah.
There's no chance. Now, that said, again, everything I said before holds true. There's no path charted for this. There's no, roadmap to follow. If they go 1-11 or 2-10 even, all bets are off.
Yeah. We got our buddy West Texas Mike wrote in, killing a coach with kindness. David, so you would like to get rid of Deshaun Foster. This is the whole damn question show. It's about Deshaun Foster. While helping him save face because he's a Bruin great. Have you tried expressing your gratitude for what Deshaun Foster has done for UCLA football? Coach Foster self-sacrificingly stepped into a breach when Chip Kelly, like some sort of John Wayne Gacy, left us to die. We would have had to shut down the football program if it weren't for Coach Foster coming to our rescue. He's basically UCLA Jesus. Do you really think Deshaun Foster froze up at the podium like Geriatric last day's Mitch McConnell. No, that pause, ladies and gentlemen, was ingenious. Rhetorical trick to show what the press conference would have otherwise been had he not stepped up. The reverberations of deafening silence. And we should thank him for that. That was the reality check we all needed. But now we must pivot. No, you got to say, you really sell the pivot part. We must begin our national search for the coach who will lead UCLA into the future while we will never forget, how one Deshaun Foster salvaged this program, not only for the season, but for generations to come. Coach Foster, we thank you. And future Bruins, thank you. Then just push him aside and throw a bunch of money at Kirk Cignetti or Brett Brennan. It'll probably be Brett Brennan. You like it?
No.
I kind of like how he's selling it, though, like where, you don't want to make him look bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think we got one text message.
Okay. Yes. Love the show and keep up the mediocre work. You didn't sign this. Gentlemen, quick question for Dave. Dave, you always say football coaches are overpaid gym coaches. What does that say about you and your career choice as a person who covers these overpaid gym coaches for a living? Love the show and keep up the mediocre work. I am a person who writes about PE coaches and criticizes them all day, every day. And somehow that's a form of employment as well.
Yeah.
Don't try to make sense of it. But yeah, I think you should always understand that we, Ryan and I, others in our industry, we are people who have to. I was thinking about this recently because it feels like you're doing something important a lot of times, and then you're like, wait, I'm writing about a children's game. And I'm taking it very seriously. I'm writing about these human beings coaching these teams, these PE coaches, and I'm saying things like he's the dumbest person alive. He should be in prison. He had a piano fall on his head. And you're like, wait, this doesn't matter. None of this matters. But don't think about that too long, because then you'll stop listening and you'll go on with a happy life where you're like doing gardening and going on long walks and just having a nice time. Don't do that. You want to instead watch as much football as you can,
yes.
Get as insane up here as you possibly can, provide yourself with as much like just waves of brain damage from listening to as many podcasts as you possibly can, and then you'll be on our wavelength. Don't look at the man behind the curtain. Never.
No.
Never, ever.
I used to design computer chips that went into satellites, and now I do this.
Yeah.
Can you believe that?
Would you ever go back, though?
No.
It's
been a long time. A couple of things in the chat. We'll get out of here. Matthew, Ryan, who did you enjoy covering more, Kiffin or Sark? Probably. I mean, they both had crazy good scandals. Sark's was the craziest, though. I mean, the Kiffin tarmac thing was pretty awesome. I'd probably go with Kiffin, but man, Sark brought a lot more juice, even the 16 games or whatever that he was there for. And then we have a dynamic Gopher fan in there, Gopher's Insight. He doesn't like you for some reason.
He loves me.
He's kind of in there, but he says we have a dynamic drop. The main reason I listen to these two highly average podcasters. I'll play it for you again.
Minnesota Golden Gophers.
Very good.
You do have a very good drop, yeah. So, yeah, good stuff. All right, I think we should wrap it up.
I think we should wrap it up.
I have another show. I think my voice is already gone.
Well, you weren't even the one screaming into the mic today.
I know, you were like pretty like levels. I was only get mad. I was very happy early with all my picks. Mad at Cam Rising, and then you were mad at like several things. So
I was mad at several things. That'll be on my tombstone. He was mad at several things.
All right. What do we want? Do you want to do a pose?
No, but we can.
What do you want to do? Yeah, perfect. All right. Well, let's go wrap it up. I'm Ryan Abraham, David Woods. Hope you guys enjoyed the show, and we will talk to you next time.
Goodbye.